Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Marcus Trevetti, today on a new episode of the Baseballers Sports Talk Radio Show, along my co-hosts Sam Durham, Jake Morgenstein, and Ryan Schlesinger. Today, we're going to be recapping the first half of the MLB season, what's going to happen in the All-Star Game, and second half predictions. Sam, I'll start off with you. What's your biggest shocker of the first half of the MLB season?
I gotta say, my biggest shocker is that pretty much almost every team in the AL East is at 500. I thought that the Tampa Bay Rays, with how banged up, they would be far below 500. They are barely hanging in there right now. We'll get to that more for the second half predictions, but also the Baltimore Orioles have been on one of the most unexpected rises in recent memory. I mean, this is like 2002 Moneyball type stuff from the Baltimore Orioles here. So that's got to really be my main shocker this season, that all five teams are pretty much near 500 in one division.
Jake, what's your take?
My biggest shocker is definitely two of these teams that should be contenders that were not very good to start the season, which are the Toronto Blue Jays and Seattle Mariners. But now after the past month, both of these teams have been very hot, playing each other very good series when they played in Seattle at T-Mobile Ballpark. But both of these teams, they started off slow. I expected these teams to be hot out of the gate, and I think that both these teams are going to be really good in this second half, and we'll get more to that with second half predictions.
Ryan, what do you think about this?
Well, in my opinion, we can talk about how the Baltimore Orioles have been doing very well, but Sam already said that. I don't think it's really that big of a deal because the Orioles really have no chance at making the playoffs, considering that they're still in such a tough division. They'll make it in 2023 if they can stay healthy and they don't trade any star players. And probably 2024, they have a pretty bright future, but not this year. I'm thinking that biggest surprise for me has been the Rays. We've known they were going to be good, but the biggest surprise on the Rays has been Shane McClanahan. He's pitched amazing, arguably the best pitcher in baseball, best pitcher in the American League right now. The best pitcher in the National League is Sandy Alcantara. So both of the Florida teams have the best pitchers, and people in Florida have pitched well this season. That is the biggest surprise for me.
My biggest surprise, okay, I know these two are both future Hall of Famers and All-Stars right now, but I'd say the rising of Manny Machado and Nolan Arenado this season. I mean, both of the guys have been playing in the league for a long time, and I expect them to be a little bit washed now, but they're still playing at a really high level. Both of them made the All-Star game, and they're just doing the best to help out their team. Speaking of the All-Star game, we're going to talk a little bit about the All-Star Game. Before we accept some callers, the number is 1-800-PLEASE-CALL. Yes, 1-800-PLEASE-CALL. So for the All-Star Game, who do you think's going to win, Sam?
Oh, I think we got a caller on the line.
Oh, we have a caller. What's your name and what's your question?
Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Kaylin from Queens, New York. So I have a question for Jake. So I know you're a big Mets fan. So the Mets have surprisingly been one of the better teams this year. What do you think they have to do to continue to be one of the best teams this year?
I don't think they need to continue much. They're getting some guys back from injury, aka Jacob deGrom. The Mets team has been very good this season. I think they're going to very much continue to be good this season. I think that they can make a deep playoff run with these big free agent signings in Starling Marte, Mark Canha, Max Scherzer, Eduardo Escobar. All three of those guys, all four, have been huge parts to this New York Mets roster. And this New York Mets team, they're going to keep this NL East for themselves. There's no team that's going to come back from them, and I don't see a team beating them in the best of 5 series unless your name is the New York Yankees or the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, I mean, I kind of have a response to that, but kind of seems like Sam might want us to respond to that. Sam, what do you have to say about that?
I mean, there's nothing he's saying is wrong, but I mean, kids from Queens.
All right, so enough about the Mets. Let's head on to the AL for the All-Star Game. So who do you guys think is going to win the MVP of the All-Star Game?
MVP, the All-Star Game, it's a tough one, but I think National League is going to win the game. So I think, or not the National League, the American League is going to win the game. It's my fault. But in the team and the player that is going to win for the American League The answer to that is Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, he's going to win it for the American League. He's going to hit at least one home run in this ballpark. This ballpark is definitely one of the easier ballparks to hit in, and especially facing a guy like Clayton Kershaw, the righty-lefty matchup for Aaron Judge favors him. Plus, a lot of these pitchers, and for this National League team, Judge can hit off of. So I think that it's definitely going to be Aaron Judge.
Schlesinger, we haven't gone to you in a while. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I personally do not really care about the results of the All-Star game. I just care if my team has players in it, which we do this year. We have Sandy Alcantara, Jazz Chisholm, and Garrett Cooper. Jazz will not be playing, unfortunately, but he's still being celebrated and he's there. I think that my prediction is a surprising one. I'm going with Alejandro Kirk. I think that Alejandro Kirk is going to show up big when people do not like or know Alejandro Kirk as much as these other big names. He's surprisingly and quietly had a big season. He is not the biggest power hitter, but he does have 11 home runs. I think he's going to go probably 2 or 3 for 4. Well, not 3 for 4. I think he's going to go 1. I think he's going to go 1 for 2, but I think he's going to hit a massive home run off someone who pitches in the National League.
So
Yeah.
I can see something from the crowd that we got a little bit of a Bronx Brothers connection, still raving about Aaron Judge, and maybe they want to ask a question. Bronx Brothers, what do you want to ask?
Yeah, so I was just wondering, you were talking about the Yankees and how good they are. Do you think they'll be able to keep it up in the second half of the season? Because, it's unheard of to have a, 70 and 29 record or so at the All-Star break. Are they going to be that hot in the second half?
Well, first off, what's your name again?
Brandon.
Brandon. Oh!
Sacrilegious right there.
Some tricking someone, eh? Either way, I think the Yankees will slow it down a little bit. I mean, I think we're already kind of seeing some stopping from progression from a couple players, Aaron Judge. But I do think, though, that the Yankees are still going to be phenomenal and make it easily into the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to be, deep into the playoffs.
Look here, Brandon, I've never heard a saying that someone said that if you can't beat him 12 times, you'll beat him the 13th. And so far for the past 12 seasons, every team's gotten a hold of the pinstripes. So something's going to happen. I'm not sure if Aroldis Chapman's going to go in the game or if Clay Holmes is going to be diagnosed with the yips. But something's going to happen to the New York Yankees simply because I've never heard anyone say if you can't beat him 12 times, you'll beat him the 13th time.
The New York Yankees team, they're going to slow it down in the second half. You've already seen some stuff from the Yankees, including losing a series to the Cincinnati Reds, arguably the worst team in the MLB. This team is not good, and the New York Yankees have a star-studded lineup, and if this team is already losing to the Cincinnati Reds, they're definitely going to slow it down in the second half. I don't see them going 20-70, but I do see them being under 500 in the second half of the season.
I think that the Yankees are going to struggle. They're pretty much guaranteed to make the playoffs because even if they go 500, they'll still have 100 wins, and that would win the division pretty much. But I see them slowing down a lot. They struggled hard against the Reds in losing that series. They also struggled to beat the Athletics. It took some late-game heroics, which what annoys me is that the Yankees fans are still all hype about these wins because they're beating the Athletics, a team that you should easily beat if you're a real team. I think that this team is not. I think that this team is not legit. I think they're going to slow it down in the second half. Everyone wants to see it besides Yankees fans. Pretty much every baseball fan, especially people who like teams here on the East Coast, hate the Yankees and don't want to see them win again because they are the most annoying sports team ever.
All right, Jake has to say one last thing.
As the famous Hunter said, the way to make the playoffs and be a good team is to sweep the bad teams and split with the good teams. And right now, the New York Yankees are not doing either of the sort, struggling to beat the A's and the Reds.
All right, well, I think that's all for today's show. I'm Marcus Toretti alongside Sam Durham, Jake Morgenstein, and Ryan Schlesinger. We'll see you later.